Hello! Basically, this video is an evaluation of my project, of the film, of the magazines, and of the poster as well. I've got a list of questions which I need to answer, so let's crack on. Okay, the first question is, what ways does your media use, develop and challenge forms and conventions or real media products? And then this is split down into subcategories: narrative, cinematography, audio and editing. Okay, first one, narrative. Our film has very little narrative in forms of speaking at all. It's a completely silent movie apart from the piano in the background and the sounds of the parents arguing and also the children playing and the door slam obviously at the end. We did this because in budget-made films, normally produced for the A levels and kind of home movies, the audio sound is normally, because of the limited equipment, is normally quite kind of crispy. It's not normally the best kind of audio quality. And so we didn't want that to detract from our film at all. So we targeted ourselves for something which would be professional, we could achieve to a high standard, and so to help us do that we completely abolished the possibility of recording audio while we were filming. Yeah, so instead of using narrative as such, we used images, we used the carefully composed shots to show kind of the progress in the film, showing how it develops all through images. For example, the black and the white shows how she goes from a place which is unhappy to a place where she feels content, she's happy, again into black and white again, showing that she's back to the real world, a place where she's not happy, uncontent. Yeah, so that shows that. Another way we did it was through the different locations. We went from her bedroom to the school, and then we had the travelling shot where she goes to the tree, and we filmed that in two different locations. We filmed it at the lane with the stile, and also in the field at the tree, and then we had the close-ups around the tree again, which again is kind of a different location in a way because of the way we could incorporate the tree into the shots in the swing. And in the woods, again, we used different locations throughout that shot in the woods. We didn't focus in one area, showing different places, showing progress, showing the changes in the film, which is our narrative. And the background noises, which we added in afterwards. The arguing, that shows why she's feeling unhappy. Children playing, again, that shows that she's not happy at school. And it's those little things which kind of show the meaning behind our story. We didn't want something which would be, okay, this is a storyline, these are your characters, this is what's happening, bam, 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 giving you a clear idea all the way through it. We wanted something that you could interpret your own way, that allows you to kind of see through your own eyes, you know, what you feel is going on in each different stage. Cinematography is key in our piece. It's key because ours was very much focused on the visual style. We composed each shot very carefully. We didn't take a shot and use it if we didn't feel that it added something to the film, or likewise if it took away from the film we wouldn't use that either. So each shot was very carefully produced and cut to what we wanted from it, and this helped us to produce high quality. We used different camera settings. We used a lot of bokeh background, which means it's blurred, and you have some crisp in focus in the front. We use this on the swing scene, for example, when the swing's in focus and her feet, they're blurred out in the background as they're progressing. And again, sorry, in the woods with the flowers in the tree. Again, the blurred background, the crisp in focus flowers. This is a technique that's used a lot in photography, but we incorporated it into our film to kind of make this shot visually appealing, so that, you know, it's not just there to tell you something, but it's there something you can enjoy, something you can connect with. Yeah. Audio is another key, although it was very subtle throughout our film. It's a key factor that influenced us. We had the piano music that myself and Dave composed. Again, we wanted something that was very low-key, very simple, but something quite pretty, something quite kind of moving, something you could kind of grasp hold onto. So we created the melody, which plays on our side website. So something you'll remember, something that we wanted people to kind of think about this film and not go, oh, that was good, and forget about it. We wanted something that they'll think about afterwards, you know, what was the meaning behind that film. So we used that, again, very simple keys. We originally, we did create kind of a symphony sound. We had the strings and we had quite a lot of synth sounds in there as well, quite unnatural sounds, which we thought, yeah, you know, these work quite well with the film, but we didn't quite, they didn't make it to the final cut because we felt in the end that they were actually adding too much. They were too complex and they were kind of taking away from the art style and quite the clean, simple kind of design to our film. The sound effects we had in afterwards, the shouting and the children effects, they're key because they kind of showed a bit more meaning in the film. They showed that, you know, the girl is unhappy because of her parents downstairs. That could be the reason. Maybe she's abused, and maybe the parents, you know, it could be drinking, drug problems, it could be anything that the person who's watching it could relate it to. But we needed that to kind of show momentum to why she goes to this imagined place she does. And again, the school, we wanted to show that, you know, there was no escape for her there. Being a young child, this is the only other place she really goes. And so we added the sound effects, but the playground's empty and the girl was sat at the side, lonely, quiet, again showing that she's not happy there. And then as she progresses into the wood, we literally just had the piano music as the travelling scenes, and kind of so the melody is picked up by the person as she goes into this other world, and they connect that, you know, this is a happy place that she enjoys being in. Editing, again, we didn't do anything really snazzy with this. We stuck to very basic transitions. We had fades, we had a lot of just straight cuts, and we did a lot of cuts to black to show the movement and to allow people to kind of have a moment of thinking before being introduced to new factors in the film. The key bit in the editing is the black and white to the colour. This technique has been used films like Pleasantville, where you get the change from the unhappiness, the place where she's not content in, to a place which is different, a place where she's happy. Alice in Wonderland, sorry, not Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, character in that, it's all in sepia tones, all browns and whites, and as she goes from Oz, it shows this big change in her life as she goes to a place which is full of wacky creations, different things. And so we implemented that into our film. We had the transition as she drags her hand across the tree, the colour slowly fades in as a surprise to the audience, and that adds so much more impact into the place where she's happy. Yeah, and the credits, the title, again, very, very basic. We didn't want to use any snazzy fonts, any, you know, way to introduce the fonts onto the screen in kind of a snazzy or flashy way. We didn't want any video playing behind the fonts. We didn't want any weird sound effects as the fonts came on. We wanted those to be very, very much basic parts of the film. We didn't want people to focus on them. We wanted them to be in the background so you could see them if you wanted to, but the key thing we wanted people to do was to think about the film afterwards, and so remember the film rather than the film ending, them being introduced suddenly to these flashing fonts and completely forgetting the simplicity and kind of the beauty of the film they've just watched. So the second question, how effective is the combination of your main film and ancillary texts? Now the ancillary texts are the magazine article, the double page spread, and also the poster. I was very happy with how those two medias looked with the film. I created them very much in the same design. The colours are all very basic. I mean, the poster is completely in black and white with the same title font used. Again, very basic fonts with the quotes, the stars. They're nothing snazzy, there's no shadows, there's no underlining. I changed the opacity on all of the fonts on the screen, so the image can be seen slightly behind it, so the fonts don't quite, they merge better with it, they complement each other more. And the amount of content on the poster, again, we had the one image behind, which is kind of the tag for our film. That's what we've used consistently throughout the double page spread, our website. And we didn't want the poster to give anything away for the film. We didn't want a tagline to go with the film, you know, if you're lost, go to an imaginary world, or anything like that, which kind of gives the meaning behind the film. We wanted to create something which was very, you know, the viewer, when they go and watch it, they make their own meaning, they create their own tagline for the film if they want to. We didn't want to hint at behind the storyline, as it would just take away from it. And double page spread, again, it was all black and white. The image behind was actually of the patterned wallpaper, and we used a Gaussian blur to completely knock that out so it wasn't too busy. And again, all black and white. We used the text boxes with a opacity of, I think it was around 14% on black, and so that kind of created a base for the text to be on. Again, simple fonts, the same title used as in the film and the poster, so they all resemble each other, they complement each other, and they work alongside each other. And the pictures I used on the film as well. I edited them, I desaturated them quite a lot, so they're not really bright and contrasty with the rest of the thing. Yeah, so I think they all kind of work alongside each other. You'd recognise them, that they'd be with each other. They're all to a similar style. Yeah, so I think they all really do work well with each other as three different pieces, three different medias. The final question was, how did you use media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages? Throughout the whole project for the double page spread, the poster and the film, I have used a plethora of different medias which I've never used before. To list a few off, I have a list. Final Cut Pro X, sorry, which it was the software I used on my own home computer actually. Again, I've never used that before. I used to use iMovie, but I took the step up. I upgraded to the Final Cut, and that I had to learn a lot of new kind of skills, methods of editing to use that. WordPress, the blogging website for our personal blogs. FileShare is what I used to upload documents to show on my blog. Pages, Excel, PowerPoint, they're all very simple kind of core processing programs to make documents, graphs, etc. GarageBand is the main audio editing program we used, me and David, to create the soundtrack. We played it using a keyboard, MIDI input into an amplifier, and then the amp box went into the FireWire cable in the back of the Mac, which then recorded the sound directly from the keyboard to get the highest quality possible. And we added a number of different effects onto it, such as reverb, to create the sound so it wasn't crisp, it was kind of more distant. And again, we used GarageBand to edit the sound for the film, because obviously there was no film to go alongside, no sound, sorry, to go along with the film as such. We added it all in afterwards, and so that allowed us to add a number of different effects onto the top of that too. ScreenFlow, which is screen capturing software, and that I used for making the website video, to show you the website, so I could record my screen. And also the film evaluation one, where I evaluated the film as it played through. Photoshop was what I used for the double page spread and the poster. Again, I learned a lot of new skills on that, different techniques as I went through. Artboard, I also used that to create some of the elements for my poster and double page spread. Basically that is vector software, very similar to Photoshop, but allows me to manipulate more kind of shapes in more kind of different ways, and then export them and import them into Photoshop. Twitter, Wix, YouTube, all blogging websites, and that the Wix is what we created the actual website on. YouTube allowed us to upload the videos, and Twitter we kept a constant feed of what we were doing at the moment. And then we used 3 different cameras to film it. We had the Canon 60D, which was used for the majority of the film, and a D7000, which we filmed some of the wide angles with. We had a D90, which we filmed the first shot with the flickering lines, to get kind of that kind of older, more kind of repetitive feel to it, so it wasn't perfectly crisp. We wanted to create that kind of dated look, showing that it hadn't before. And then iMovie was the older software I used for all our previous vlogs and previous videos we made. So that was all the software I could think of off the top of my head, really. I'm sure there's much more, and I'll incorporate them into the final evaluation. I also need to do an audience feedback evaluation, but I'm still waiting for enough audience feedback to kind of make an effort on that. So I'll upload that later, probably through a Word document or a PowerPoint. So yeah, I think that pretty much analyses all of those questions as much as I can by talking to you. I'll do a Word document as well, kind of going through the nitty-gritty and really picking it apart. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.